So, it's Monday and we've got 17 minutes before I've got to go on one of the shopping jumps for one of the elderly parishioners. So, 77104 Baby Midland, 77104 UK. This one, I did say both in the email, both were working properly. It's got sent an 095 as well. Unfortunately, when I tested it again, it's decided to blow the inline fuse for some reason. Yeah, well, so interesting. Oh, he's left the screws out. We'll better unsolder the speaker. I think the first thing to do, we'll just check if there is a short. There certainly is. Right. We know it's not in the cigarette lighter because I've gone into it the far side of the fuse, which is of course now missing. And it's got black to black and red to red. I know these things sound stupid, but it smells of car air freshener, this radio. We better take the bottom lid off and see if there's something daft, like a paper clip gone inside. When we had a television and audio business, I remember going out to a black and white television, and it was a lady who ran a dressmaking shop, and the big problem was the television main board, which was horizontal in the bottom, was full of dressmaking pins. So I got a magnet and pulled them all out, and that was all that was wrong with it. You know what? He's replaced the protection diode the wrong way around. And that, this is something we can all do. It doesn't matter how experienced and all that, we can all do these things. So he's got, let's just see if we can zoom in on this. Where's the remote gone? So there's the diode, and the stripe is to the top. So when we look in the radio, it shows that the stripy end needs to be to the right, and the way he's got it is to the left. So all we need to do, mind you, we'll test this first. All we need to do theoretically is turn it round if this still works. And the fact it's blown a fuse, and it's with the right kind of fuse. No, it's now short circuit, so it needs replacing. But it was the wrong way round. Right, I'll pause the video and go and get another fuse. I'll get one of those as well. Okay, so having changed the diode, which is now down there and pointing the right way round, we are greeted with the radio now powering up. So we'll go through I'll put the camera back to the normal position. There we go. I don't know if I've printed off the right version because there's two variants of this. There's the no, I've printed off the wrong one. Probably because I haven't got the right one. Never mind. So this is not the right one. So one of these has got a chip which replaces a lot of the receive. You know what? This looks like the right circuit, but the wrong layout. Because around here, oh no, it's got a 7137 in this, and this is a C5121. Anyway, we'll find our way around it. So it's 77 Midland, 77104 UK, and the TX. Switch picture in picture on. I'm on the 3-watt scale. I think I put the wrong mic in this. I'm not enjoying myself getting this mic back out. I'll pause the video and see if I can find another mic he's sent. Right, well, it's not so much it's the wrong mic. We've got no transmit and no receive. So the radio's hissing, so you've got the FM circuit working, but because these are notorious for dry joints as well. So I think what we need to just do is check whether the 8-volt regulator is running. So it's a negative ground chassis, and we should have Well, that's not right, is it? So we've got 8 volts. So it isn't that. So it has the phase lock loop chip. I'll look into it. Okay, so we're back into. There was a dry joint on the reference crystal. So we need to tune up the transmitter and my circuits for a different version. So going into transmit, the radio is doing just shy of 4 watts. Deviation, Wallow isn't doing anything because we're on the wrong frequency. Wallow, 1 2 1 2. Wallow, it's just doing a bit high. Let's just do the frequency. Slightly low. So we had a dry joint near the reference crystal which was stopping it working. 3.9 watts on transmit. We've got deviation of 3. Wallow, we have Wallow. Whoa, a bit more than that. That needs to come down. The frequency is 27 79106, so it just needs to pop up a fraction. So do that right away. Spot on, makes a change. So we'll go through the transmitter. So our circuit is for the other version of this. So one of these is going to be meter, I am sure. At the moment, we've got 3. Is it that one? This is the first one I was on. So RV103 is meter transmit. So we'll just run through the rest of the transmit. Now, is this the high-low power switch, or is this power in general? High-low power. That's correct. So that was RV501. Now got that at 400 milliwatts. There. Really, I should have gone through the rest of the transmitter first. Put it into the high power mode. We've got a definite peak there. Definite peak there. Soldering iron on. While the soldering iron warms up, we'll do the deviation. It's going to be one of these, isn't it? It's that one. Wallow. Actually, that's a bit low. Wallow. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Wallow. That's it. That's not. Deviation lower left, which doesn't have a part number stamped on the board. So that leaves us with that, which is going to be RF meter and presumably squelch, which unless there's a preset hiding around there, is going to have to be 101 just there. Anyway, soldering iron might have warmed up by now. That's definitely a peak. And that's definitely 4 watts. So that's good. So on transmit, the way you set this meter is you want it to be in low power and to be 1 light. And that's exactly what it is. So, but we still go through it anyway. 103, it's the back one. So we're on 1 light, and when we switch it to high power, it's 4 lights. Low power, 1 light, high power, 4 lights. So that's aligned. So that brings us on to the receiver. And right now, what are we getting? So on receive, it's actually a very good 0.375. We're unlikely to improve on that. So let's have a look at the oscilloscope. Put it onto an S9, 100 microvolts in the UK for a CB radio. I say that every time because the amateur radio is different. Something like 55 microvolts. I can't even remember because I don't do meters amateur radio. So, detector. It's going to be there. Slight improvement. So that's maximum recovered audio. So drop the signal and now work with the cyanide meter for the rest of it. So we're just looking at down here, these four. I expect this is the front end. Yep. You know what, we've got a tiny improvement there as well. And a tiny improvement there. So do these two again. They just don't have this time at the factory to do it this precise. So now we'll take another reading. So where are we? Well, we're between scales as usual. So that's about 0.33 of a microvolt. On the other scale, 12 decibels is 0.315. So we'll give it an average and say it's now 0.32. I'm just between scales, which is unfortunate. So we'll be able to hear another 10 yards on that. So going to S9 again, so we'll put that 100 microvolts on. We'll look at the S meter. Now remember I twiddled that, so it's not, it wasn't presented like that. And it's the third one is our S9. There we go. So RV I don't know. It's center top, second down. So that's going to be squelch. So we'll put the squelch to full on the radio. I'll show you the attenuator controls. So that's squelch on full. And what we want is for it to come on by 100 microvolts. That's 10 microvolts, 30 microvolts, 100 microvolts. It's not come on. So it's coming on at 10 millivolts, which is ridiculous. So it needs to be weakened off a bit. Yeah? Don't tell me there's another squelch control. because that would be very, very annoying. It's got to be squelched down. Oh, it is, yeah. Just hasn't weakened off as far as I want. So we're right at the most sensitive, and it's brought it to 300 microvolts maximum. So that's, if that's as weak as we can get it, that's how it is. So I've put the signal generator to standby, set threshold on the radio, switch the signal generator back on. It's parked at 0.3 microvolts. When's it coming in? And the answer is coming at 0.4 microvolt. It's dropping off at just under 0.2, so it's very sensitive. So that's going to work nicely, better than it does on the Cybernet sets. I've got to put it down, and a washer's gone onto there. So we're done. So it was quite straightforward. So the job was, it was short circuit, diode had been put in the wrong way around. It's one of those things. I've got an intermittent joint just down here. One of those things. It's probably have a few more by the time it's gone back in the post, and then you'll say it doesn't work. We get that in about 1 in 100 jobs, you know. And then you get the return of the whatever. And it's frustrating because the customer's not done anything wrong and we've not done anything wrong. Right, I'll put it together. Many years ago when my parents were alive, I'm going back to the late 80s, and we thought that CPT band was going to be the be-all and end-all, because it wasn't, because you just got interference from foreign stations which didn't interest us. Just wanted to communicate from car to car. And I had a Nissan Cedric at the time, which was a 3-litre luxury saloon, and I had a boot mount aerial on that. It was a Bantex Ranger, I think it was, which was a really good quality commercial CB aerial, and I'd got one of these in the car, and it was the CPT version, and my mum and dad were actually driving another of my cars, which was a Nissan Bluebird Turbo Executive, and it wasn't, we didn't buy it because it was supposed to be fast, we bought it because it had air conditioning, and there were only 2 of the Bluebird models which were made in the UK that had air conditioning, and that was one of them. So anyway, they were driving that, and we hadn't had that car that long, and it hadn't had a proper aerial fitted at that point. It was on the mag mount, and I contacted them initially as we came out. We'd rented a cottage for the week or something like that, and it was at Redcar, or that kind of area. Anyway, I lost contact with them within about half a mile, and I got home before they did, and I put the CB on at the base, and about half a mile from base they came through on the CB, and I found out what the problem was. My mum and dad never took the mag mount out of the boot, did they? It's silly things like that. I mean, what made me think of that? But it did. So that would have been really useful if they'd have had a snag. And my dad's handle was Tidy Man. He got made redundant from British Steel, where he was working as an analytical chemist at Swindon Laboratories at Rotherham, which was so swished he had 20-something gardeners working there full time. So I don't want you to think it was some puthering steelworks, because it wasn't. And they had one of only 3 in the world million-volt electron microscopes there at the time. Not that was his department. And he took the opportunity to take early retirement. I think he was about 58 at the time, exactly the age I am now. And in those days he got a bit of a golden handshake as well, which helped him towards retirement. Anyway, for about 18 months he did some work for Keep Britain Tidy. And so before you think he was going around with a park prodder picking up litter, it wasn't like that. He was doing some administration work for them for about 18 months. And although he was a doctor of chemistry, he was doing this work, and it was quite amusing. And that was, his handle was Tidy Man. So anyway, that I was calling Tidy Man on this CB radio, and as I say, nothing was happening because the error was in the boot. To American viewers, that means trunk of a car, boot of a car, trunk of a car. So why are most cars manual in this country? And of course the reason is it's down to the driving test. When you take your driving test, if you take your car on a manual car, like most people do, you're then allowed to drive a manual car. If you take your driving test on an automatic car, you're not allowed to drive manual cars, and that could be difficult if you wanted to hire a car or to hire a van. So what then happens is, if somebody sees you driving an automatic car, and this has happened to me. "Oh, Richard, I'm surprised at you. I thought you'd have got a proper driving licence." That's what you get. So you can't be seen driving a automatic car. So having got the Nissan Leaf, which isn't automatic, it's just front and go, backwards and forwards, isn't it? But it looks like it's automatic. But nobody said that to me on that, because it's clearly a reason why it has to be automatic, or look like it's automatic. So there you go. Well, we've put that together. So we'll put it on the aerial. And we'll find nobody to listen to as usual. Well done, Roger. Okay, we'll do an on-the-air test later on with that, and that's worked out. He said it was a nice radio, and it is a nice radio. So I must make a note that he had a diode and a fuse to add that onto his bill. Thanks for watching the Midland 77104 UK version from around 1983.